most important thing is to me in my head right now is I'm trying to identify what the fish are relating to. There's one on the paws, dude. Uh-oh, what do we got? There's more there too. This is awesome. On the paws. Just launched my boat here on a lake I haven't been to in a while. We all love fishing, you know, around grass. We know grass holds a lot of big fish all throughout the year. Let me try that real quick. Just try to get a feel for what's going on. You know, fish relating to grass really key in and relate to the holes in the grass. And I'm just going down this bank here, and this grassy bank you could identify the holes with your eyes. I like to go out off the bank and find these exact holes in the grass, but find them out off the bank. Oftentimes, that's where some of your biggest fish will be all throughout the year, especially late in the season like we have today, where bait is moving in and around these holes out here. But there's only one way to find the holes in the grass out off the bank. You can't visually see it with your eyeballs. You really have to rely on your electronics. So I'm gonna utilize Mega 360. I'm gonna utilize Mega Live, and I'm really gonna try to find holes in the grass out off the bank, those little sneaky spots that the typical angler going down the bank hardly ever finds. I'm just gonna take a quick glance at my LakeMaster VX mapping card, and of course I've got the 1 foot contours, and you know I kind of selected these colors that help me identify where all the main lake flats are. Any of these contours that are far apart from each other, further apart meaning there's a slow gradual drop, those indicate flats. So I want to go and look for those flats that would hold vegetation. So we're looking for those kind of harder bottom areas, you know, stay away from the muck, the silt, the mud, just an area where, you know, grass can grow, whether it be, you know, hydrilla, milfoil, all the good types of veggies that bass really love. You know, one of the coolest things about running a LakeMaster VX mapping card is the ability to, you know, adjust your water level. So we haven't had a lot of rain in this part of the country this year. So I could come down here and select menu on my chart here and go to the water level and just kind of adjust my water level so that all my contour lines are just spot on. And when you have your mapping up in conjunction with, you know, just down imaging or 2D sonar, I can adjust my water level to where my, you know, 1 foot contours match the actual depth. So I know the water level's down, so I'm just gonna set my water level to, you know, it's down 6 feet, so -6. And there's my, you know, 9 foot contour line, and we're approaching 9 feet down over here. So I can match my depth zones to the actual depth right now today. And that's just a really cool feature, because now I know exactly what the depths are throughout this whole lake. I could depth highlight the 6 to 9 foot zone, for example, and then I could also highlight, you know, 12 to 15 foot zone at the same time. So really cool feature with the new LakeMaster VX cards. So I'm just kind of idling these flats here. I'm looking for grass lines. I did pick up a little school of fish down on down imaging. I'm picking up a hard bottom, so that's one of the ingredients I'm kind of looking for today. Again, I haven't been out here in a while, so I'm just looking for all the different clues that'll help me have a successful day of fishing. So I actually might want to mark that. That's a nice little beautiful hard bottom. All I got to do is come in on side imaging and hit waypoint on it. We'll go ahead and select a red color there, and all of a sudden that red waypoint shows up over here on my chart, and I could literally hop right up and fire right to that waypoint and really hone in on those casts. So I simply look for those voids, those holes, and in turn, you know, that's where your bass will eat all year long, is just in those voids. They relate to those lines. So, and it's really good form, good practice to, as you're idling along, you're graphing the area, take your time. And a lot of times you could actually, you know, set these waypoints on side imaging here, drop your waypoints and almost create a contour line of your own. And as you see here, there's a little void, a half moon shape off to my right, so that when I actually hop up to the front, I already have my waypoints placed along that half moon, and I know those casts to make. Another cool feature of side imaging here, if you can't really quite decipher whether it's grass or rock, really cool, just put your crosshairs over there, hit the zoom button, and you can tell there's some separation. So those are actually fish right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and mark that. Let's investigate it a little bit further. What I mean by that, let's drop, live in the water, let's drop 360 in the water, and let's see exactly what this spot holds for me. So it's very fishy looking on side imaging. Let's investigate a little bit further here, and let's put more tools down there to help us find more fish. There's one. Second cast. What is this? Oh, it's a bass. All right, there we go. Just as soon as I drop that trolling motor down to investigate further on that kind of hard spot, out in front of a grass line, there's a bite right off the bat. So I launched the boat about 30 minutes ago. I told myself I'm not gonna put the trolling motor down until I found something that looks a little bit fishy out off the bank. We identified a little something different on side imaging, and now we get to dig deeper into this spot and see exactly what lives here. So I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. That right there, for a predatory fish like a bass, I mean, that is just an absolute dinner table right there. And it's just a honeycomb of spawning bluegill. And when you have spawning bluegill, they're very, very vulnerable down there. So it looks like a nice hard spot in front of some grass. Obviously on live, we're not seeing those nice little holes, those bluegill beds on live. That's why you gotta rely on Mega 360 to kind of uncover little clues like that and let you know exactly where to cast. But really what the most important thing is to me in my head right now is I'm trying to identify what the fish are relating to. There's one on the paws, dude. Uh-oh, what do we got? Oh yeah, little one. There's more there too. This is awesome. On the paws. A lot of times by the end of the season, they're worn out and the fish start moving off the bank a little bit, and that's when I really like to intersect them. And fish off the bank, I mean, it's really hard to find a spot like this when you're just fishing along. You really have to stumble upon them. But when you have, all these tools at the front of your boat, you could find spots like this offshore. I mean, just like that. So we look over here on LakeMaster, large, expansive flat. You come over here and those are those voids I'm talking about. Okay, you look at 360 and my transducer is spinning 360 degrees and transmitting a beam to my left, and it's identifying these holes, these voids, these coves in the grass. Obviously we've identified a nice little bluegill spawning area here, so there's life here. But then this is really where it shines, no pun intended. I shine the live transducer in that void, in that hole right there, and there's my void with fish in it. And there's my back wall of grass, and that you can literally see it all together. Your answers are all right here. You just gotta learn how to use it, gain confidence in it. It tells you exactly where to cast. It's just very hard to roll up on a thick, grassy spot that's almost topped out and just start flipping slow. All of a sudden it's 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock p.m. Your wife's calling you to come home and you're sitting there fishing one stretch of grass. It's a lot more effective for you to just go down the bank, rely on your electronics, and just try to find them, see the bass around that stuff. That is a really, really cool looking spot right there. And I can see fish all over it. Let's see what species they are. But that is just a beautiful spot. Well, right there on the bluegill bed. I mean, that's just a little power drop shot. And you see what I mean by it was very rough as we eyed along here. It was very rough. There was nothing fine-tuned about it. All we saw was a hard bottom, a hole in the grass. We saw a bluegill bed. And then as we put the trolling motor down, like I said, we added 2 more transducers to the mix. And what that does, it just helps you make those decisions, And we threw the jerk bait and we started, you know, defying the situation a little bit more, and a little bit more, a little bit more. Nothing on the jerk bait. And then we knew exactly where to make that cast because that bluegill bed is so apparent. That grass line is so apparent, and you could just make those pinpoint casts, man. And it's just, I mean, it's just, these are little ones, but it's showing you that there's life there, and that's how you figure out what's going on that day. Okay, so why do the bluegill spawn where they're spawning? I mean, it is so crystal clear, very apparent lay down log there. You know, before 360, you just go right along here. You'll never ever see that log or never ever see that bluegill bed. I mean, you'd get lucky to make a cast on it. Now we could spot lock on it and make 50 casts on it if we wanted to. Oh. Oh my gosh. Right there in that little grassy hole, man. That's one thing about target fishing too. And not visually target fishing, but you know, target fishing off your electronics. You gotta have in my opinion, you gotta have kind of a shorter rod where, you know, accuracy matters. That was right in that hole right there. Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Again, man, I identified that hole in the grass, and although we're close to that kind of grass mat there, I didn't cast to the grass mat. I concentrated outside of it, relied on 360, relied on live. That hook just came out. That's a big old bucket mouth right there. On a jerk bait, thrown into those grass holes. She ate it, man. And for this particular lake I'm on, I mean, that is a big fish right there. It's got a, you know, 5-pound head. It had a really long, hot season on that body right there, but that is an absolute big one on a jerk bait. That is so cool. And it's real light wind. It's not, you know, crashing wind. I just identified that nice little hole with a hard bottom. That was the only fish in that hole. I saw it and it bit that jerk bait, so that's a win in my book. All right, see you, girl.